Okay, welcome everybody to today's Empowered Women's Coaching Call. Oh, hang on, are we live? Give me 1 second, guys. Let's start that again. All right, I think we're going live, fingers crossed. So not tech savvy. All right, I'm going to guess that we are live. There's always a lag. Welcome everybody to today's Empowered Women's Coaching Call. My name is Kira Love, and I have a beautiful dear friend of mine who I've known for many years now, Tracy B. Welcome.
Thanks, babe. I'm just going to turn my phone off so it doesn't make noises every time someone tags me.
So before we get into it, a couple of housekeeping things. You can join our Empowered Women's group where you can catch up on past recordings. There is a link over on the Facebook Live. There's also a link to past recordings on the YouTube. And I also want to announce this week's winner of the Super Attractor cards. This is one of my favorite books at the moment, and these cards are beautiful. The Busy Mummy Mare, I think it is, over on Instagram. So if you want to inbox me your address, babe, I'm going to send you out this and some other goodies that every empowered woman must have. So thank you so much once again, everybody. When you share the love, we are able to make a greater impact in this world. So I'm going to, of course, run that competition again. I just love giving stuff away. So any excuse, right, Tracy? I know you're the same. You're definitely a giver as well. All right. So let me just okay, we're live. All right. I'm really excited about today's topic. I think, Tracy, I've had so many women inbox me this year. It seems to have been a huge transitional year for many women in this community. And, you know, a lot of crazy shit has gone down for a lot of people, right? No one's immune to it. And yeah, I think it's a really cool topic because I think forgiveness is so incredibly misunderstood, and forgiveness is not something that suddenly washes over you with time. Forgiveness is a choice, and it's an act of self-love. And I think one of the other misunderstandings about forgiveness is it doesn't mean that you forget what someone did or that it makes their actions okay. It's a choice to forgive what someone did to you, whether it's real or perceived. So we might even talk a little bit about that, about expectations and perceptions, I think are important with this topic as well. It's definitely something that I've learned a lot of. And it's an act of self-love because you don't want to spend so much energy and so much bitterness in hate. I think if you truly are a victim, then you only give more power away when you choose to live your life in hate, because that affects you as a person. You know, hate really colors everything that you interact with. It permeates every area of your life. And I think that what I've learned is letting go requires a shitload less energy than holding on to stuff. Right?
That's true.
And the other thing before I pass it over, the other thing that I hope we get into that is a huge lesson, huge lesson for me over the years is that things that cause you upset usually come from your expectations being violated. And the more I let go of expectation in my life, the more I become aware of frameworks and beliefs, because remember guys, beliefs are just bullshit stories that we've made up, right? We choose our belief system. They're all stories, right? But the more frameworks we have and the more rigidly attached to things we are, the more likely you're going to continually feel violated by other people's actions. So that's another kind of thing maybe we might touch on as we go through. But you're a woman, you're a human being, Tracy, so no doubt you've had many moments in life that you have had to work through forgiveness, as we all do. So I don't know if you want to start by sharing, you know, some challenges, or are you just going to get straight into? I'm just going to hand it over to you to get started.
Thanks, Kira. Hey, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I feel blessed to be on these calls because I see every week you have the most amazing people with the most beautiful messages that touch everybody. Like if you look into all of the meetings or chit chats that you have, we can all kind of integrate our lives into the message. And so I'm really blessed, and I'm super stoked that I chose this topic because it's something that if I hadn't have got on top of it in the last maybe 5 or 10 years, my life would be exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. And I was sick and tired of just going around in this circle, you know.
And also this has been a topic that's come up a lot with, you know, there's been a few people that are unfortunately at the end stage of their life right now in our community. And how many people do you know who hold on to the end of life, to bitterness, and how that impacts their entire life as well, right?
Yeah. And, you know, you don't want to be on your deathbed still, you know, gripping on to that, because you're going to take that away. And that's one thing actually came to me while I was in the shower. I was like, I have a lot of epiphanies in the shower. I don't know if you do, but I've heard that when you shower, and I do this every day because I'm a healer by trade. I actually massage people. And
amazing healer, by the way, everyone. If you're in Melbourne, these beautiful healing hands. That's how I met you, right?
Yeah. It's my heart space. That's where I love to be, is healing others. And so when I'm in the shower every day, and sometimes I might have it twice a day, because there's some heavy shit that people have out there, and it is all based around self-love, and you know, there is none of it, or very little of it. And I found when coming into self-love, I had so much stuff that I had to forgive myself for, to actually love myself for that. So when I shower every day, I'm washing away my past and their past, because energy transfers. So I'm going to take on whatever they're, you know, bringing in. However, in saying that, as a healer, I do protect myself. But sometimes, even I'm human, like sometimes I'm so exhausted from just the BS stories that go on in my head and whatever's going on outside of my life, that I break down a little bit, and I might take a healing on that actually I take on. So I love to get in the shower and just wash it all away. And you can visually do that. I have no idea where this chat was going. I was just talking about washing away the pain. But, you know, you can also, it's one thing to kind of take on something, but it's another thing to wash it away. Like Kira said, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like,
it's a decision.
Huh?
It's a decision. And
totally.
a process. Yeah.
Totally. And until you come to that awareness, you're just going to keep carrying it around. I love the analogy where it's like, you know, you've got that backpack on your back. And about 10 years ago, before I decided to actually get over my victim self and move forward into the greatness that I knew I was inside, which was killing me, you know, that backpack was just full of so much stuff. And if we can go back a little bit to what Kira said about expectations of others, and also touch a little bit on love languages, because you did share a little bit about that. When I first met Kira, straight away her love language is giving. She loves to give. And so, and mine is giving, but also touch. If you meet me, I'm a very touchy-feely person. And if you don't like that, you probably want to stay away from me. But I love to touch, and you know, that's how I heal myself and others. But when you, if you can learn the 5 love languages, by the way, it is a book, and I can't remember who it's written by, but it's an amazing book, and it helps you understand. Who was it?
Maybe Gary. I could be totally making this up. Maybe Gary Chapman.
The guy that wrote it. And no, I'm not being sexist, but it's such a beautiful book about love languages. I always thought love was such a feminine gift, but it actually was written by a guy who was
Gary Chapman. Yeah,
thank you. Brilliant book. Once I read that book, I could actually understand what other people's love languages are. So here's the first lesson in forgiving that I kind of learned from the love languages. My partner's love language, his is communication and spending time together. And mine is touchy-feely, and I'm going to be honest, I love sex. Like, but I love it in the way of I love to connect with the person that I'm having sex with. And these days it's only one person, so you know, it is a connection. So there is something there. And when he wasn't giving that to me, I thought he didn't love me, and I started hating him and resenting him, like, you're an asshole. Oh, did I say swear? Sorry.
Sorry. Anything goes on these calls. Just
I won't drop the F-bomb, maybe not. But, you know, then I learned the love languages, and I realized that actually he did love me, but he loved me in the way that he loved me, which was communicating. And so when I came off my, you know, high horse and spoke to him in his love language, then he could reciprocate the love language in the bedroom, or maybe on the couch. It doesn't always have to be sex, but maybe on the couch, or just walking past me in the kitchen and touching me and, you know, giving me that little bit of love. And so I started to forgive him. And then what I do when I meet other people that come into my bubble, I might actually ask them, hey, have you done the love language test? You can do it online, by the way. And they'll be prompted to say, what is that? When I explain to them it is speaking to people in their love language, they'll go and do that. And I've actually asked my team to do the same thing so that they can tell me what their love language is, so I can speak to them in that language.
Do you know one of the most life-giving things to relationships that you could ever adopt, and just life-changing strategies for yourself, is to be more curious. So not only be curious about those kind of things, like getting curious around somebody's own pattern of showing and receiving love is transformational, guys. And obviously you've got to read the book, listen to his podcast. It's amazing. But people can only give what they have to give. And if someone is emotionally bankrupt, if someone has a certain pattern that they developed in childhood, if they have certain wounds and trauma in their background, but you're not curious enough to understand that person's perspective, to understand that person's history, and, you know, how they have developed into the human they are today and their communication style and all of those things, then you're judging them based on your own perception and expectations and frameworks and belief system, and making that person wrong. And you are just setting yourself up for frustration, for feeling violated, and challenge in your relationship, and challenge to connect.
Yeah, and let's face it, like, we are born pure essence of love. We are born that way.
Yeah.
And then we come into this world, we're a blank canvas, and then social society has put all these labels on us. Social media has put labels on us. Our parents have conditioned us this way. And that doesn't mean that, you know, that every decision that we make is bad, because I think when you peel away all of the stuff, you know, that you might perceive as bad or evil or, you know, dishonest or whatever, there is that pure essence of love. And we've made decisions subconsciously or consciously. At the end of the day, we really are human beings of essence and love. I watched this YouTube clip the other day. I love Oprah Winfrey. She's just amazing. And she's the most amazing speakers. But she had this lady on there. I can't even remember her name, but she was talking about how, you know, I'm gonna actually give you exactly what she said. She said, if someone came up to you and said to you, oh, bummer I did that to you, hope you get over that, yeah, we'll just move on from here, that'd feel like a kick in the guts. You'd be like, what the are you serious? Like, that's your apology? I'm still gonna go through this because I'm hating on you for doing it that way. And or let's say this person does, and maybe they won't, I don't know, but we are human beings. And I think if you, like I said, peel away the layers, this is how it should happen. They come to you and they say, you know, that thing that I did to you that really hurt you, that actually changed the direction of your life? I consciously knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to hurt
my heart today saying this.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Consciously knew.
Yeah.
But I had to experience what I wanted to experience to have that experience.
Because I feel like you can always, like for me, you know, there's been some, probably, I'm still in the process of forgiveness for something in my life this year. And, you know, part of that process was forgiving myself for not trusting myself was the first stage. And I'm moving through the stages. And I think the missing link for me, which I have to grow bigger than, is the lack of recognition and acknowledgement from that side of the fence. And that's what I'm struggling with. But that's just me wanting to, I guess, control how I want to move through forgiveness in a way. And what I recognize to be true, and going back to saying that people can only give what they have the capacity to give based on their own life and experiences, the strongest place you can ever put yourself in is giving yourself what you're looking for from someone else, what you're seeking. When you can acknowledge yourself, when you can forgive yourself, when you can love yourself, when you can praise yourself and acknowledge your own greatness, you stop looking for it in others. You stop placing that expectation, which is a heavy burden to place, especially on your significant other. If you're constantly seeking things from that person, when you can fulfill all of those needs for yourself, then I think you can move through these challenges with a lot more ease, grace, and flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to look like that person forever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we are pure essences. But can I say, Kira, like, going back to what you said, there is a process to forgiveness. Like we said before, it doesn't just happen. You go through the pain, you go through the ugly crying, you go through the hate and the resentment and the, you know, putting pins and dolls and stuff like that.
But hopefully what you do is you start realizing how it's impacting you. Like for me, forgiveness this year is for me. It's definitely, I'm not evolved enough yet for it to be for other people. I'm working on it. That is my life goal, to be that enlightened. But, you know, it's because I recognize the poison it is in my life. And I don't want that poison in my life. I want my life to be full of love and light. And that's the gift that I want to give to others. And if I'm spending time in hate and pain and frustration, then I don't get to be that best version for myself, first of all, because you should always do everything for yourself first. But then for everyone around me as well.
Yeah. And you know, going back to that point again, all the poison, or actually I wrote this really cool thing down today. Watch this space. It'll come back to me. But the poison that you put in yourself, this unforgiving thing, flows into every area of your life. Again, and you've talked about this a lot with a lot of other speakers you've had on here. It flows into your relationships, your family, your children. Oh my goodness. Like, you and I are very passionate about families and culture and, you know, love within the family home. And when you are spewing your poison and your cancer, sorry to call it all of those things,
but it is,
into your children, that is like, oh, you really, that is when I implore you to really dig deep and find the forgiveness in there somehow. But go through all the process first, you know, the hate, but then come out of it, and that shows your children how to do the same. Yeah. And energy transfers as well. Like, you can't hide that stuff. I think we try and hide stuff from our children. And Kira, you put me in front of this book, Conscious Parenting. And I loved that book. And what I got from it was, and Ruby just, you know what? She's taught me so much. And she actually said this to me as I was reading this book. And because she was going through a time where she was just, how is this? Children really teach us not unconditional love, but forgiveness every
they really do.
day. You know, while I was reading that book and reflecting as her, you know, at looking at what was going on for her, she said to me one day, she was like, you never show any emotion. You're always happy and bubbly, and you've got this squeaky little voice. Like, oh my God, and Matt was like, you do, you have that squeaky little voice. I'm like, okay. So I don't have it anymore. I wake her up in the morning and go, morning, Ruby. You know, not morning, Rube. Someone, she just cracks up. But she's like, you're always so happy. You never get pissed off. You never get angry, you know, blah, 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 blah. And look, part of it is because I generally, most of the time, I am really happy. I've learned to forgive things that go on in my daily life. I've learned to just, you know, accept that things are just the way they are, and things that I cannot control just are what they are.
And you're not sweating the small stuff, right? Like, I used to sweat the small stuff so bad, and now it's like I just don't even have the time or energy for that shit. Also, people that sweat the small stuff. It's like, I've got that bigger fish, but right.
I'm a bit like that too. Some people come to me with a little shit, and I'm just like, really? Like, people are dying all over the world, and you're crying over a broken shoe, or, you know, something really silly. But, you know, when she said that, I realized that she actually needed to see some of my emotions, because otherwise she's going to grow up in life masking her emotions and going through them thinking, I have to be happy and bubbly. And because let's face it, our kids are our monkeys. Monkeys see, monkey do.
Yeah.
They're going to copy what we do. I love that quote. Children will not do what you say, they will do what you do.
Yeah.
And so when Ruby sees me sometimes losing my shit, because honestly, I don't really. The other night, she broke a whole jar of rice malt syrup onto the floor. You know how sticky that shit is. And I lost it. She was like, whoa, man, it's just rice malt syrup. I was like, what are they? Oh, my emotions. There it is. Here's a cloth, clean it up. So, yeah, I think it's important for them to see your emotions and see you go through that process of forgiving whatever's going on. I mean, if it's something really big, like, you know, you don't want to put too much burden on a child, because as adults, we do go through some stuff that really hurts us. But, you know, for them to see that, they know that, okay, something happens, I get emotional, I feel it, I work through it, and then, okay, I'll come out the other side, we're okay.
Yeah.
I think it's important to show that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things, you know, obviously, the community both know Adam and I, obviously, because we worked in the community together, and we did decide to go our separate ways a year ago. And you know, it was unexpected, but it's been perfect, I think, and what both of us needed for sure. But part of that journey and coaching, actually, all of the coaching was centered around my own shit. There was not one list given of what Adam did, which, you know, whether you're going through a separation or you're feeling challenged with a partner or a friend or a family member, it is so tempting to put all of your energy and focus, and we can all do it, right? Write a list of what we think another person has done. But at the end of the day, we can only take control of ourselves, and it's so tempting to always point the blame. But the truth is, you have a part to play. Yeah. And when I broke down all of the roles that I played in where our relationship got to, in some of the key areas that unraveled it, there's nothing to forgive. Do you know what I mean? Because I played a part in that. If you're not happy where your relationship is at, if you don't have the level of communication, if you, for the most part, okay, let's put aside violent, all of that stuff, right? Yeah. But if you're in, you know, Adam was and he is an incredible man, right? We had an incredible relationship for the time that we were together. And there were some key areas that didn't work, and we both played a role in that. And yeah, I think when you take ownership for your contribution, if your relationship isn't where you want it to be, you can only control your part. If it's not loving enough, are you bringing enough love? Are you going first to create the change? Yeah. Or are you just sitting back and constantly pointing blame and holding on to that time that he did something or said something, and you know, 10 years later you're still bringing that shit up, right? We can all guilty on it, right?
Sister, preach it. We are so mean.
Yeah, I think a part of forgiveness is taking ownership.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say around that is the weakest position you will ever have yourself in, and ladies, you need to hear this because you are so guilty of being the victim in life. That is the weakest position you can ever put yourself in, is playing the victim. Yes, there are times where people do things to us that do hurt us, that are against what you would think would be normal behavior. But it's what you do from there that counts. Your healing is your responsibility, regardless of what anyone else does to you. You can choose to stay weak and in victim mode, or you can choose the healing process, and that is your responsibility.
Yeah. And I chose to heal, you know, I chose to heal because, like I said before, I was sick of the circle. You know, you just kept coming back to the same fucking place, I swear. You keep coming back and you're like, am I here again? Like,
don't you just love those quotes where it says, you know, the universe is just going to send the same bricks until you fucking deal with it? Like, learn the lesson already. Let's move on to the next one. Like, how many times do you want to go down around the merry-go-rounds with the same?
This is the dumb thing about that is it got thrown in my face so many times that I just dealt with it the same way I always did, because it's all I knew. And I'm no excuse, but I wasn't set up with the tools. And I just honestly probably wasn't even hurting enough. It was like, oh, I've been through it again. I can do it again. You know, I can just go through that cycle again. But there was a point in my life where it was like, man, enough is enough, because I was coming up to an age in my life where I really wanted to move forward. I wanted I visioned myself older, you know, especially in my older years. Like I'm in my mid-40s now, and we're thinking about retirement. I know it's miles away, but my half of my life is gone already. And I'm like, holy crap, the next half of my life really needs to kick in. And so it was like, what is missing? And I honestly, I sat there, I flew home to my dad. I said, look, I'm at a crossroads. I don't know what to do. I feel like if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to end up nowhere. And the worst part of all of it is I'm going to leave all the shit behind for my kids to clean up. Because energy transferred, and I knew that, you know, whatever I accumulate in my life, energetically, I'm leaving behind. So I want to make sure that I clean my shit up, so that I leave behind a nice little, you know, box with a bow and a ribbon that not only my children, but the community and the world can feed off. Yeah. And so I flew home to see my dad. I'm from New Zealand, and whenever I go home, my cup gets filled. And I got there and I realized that in order for me to change, we hear it all the time, you have to change, which meant I had to find another way to get ahead. And what came out of that was I knew Adam and Kira anyway, but we reconnected. And all of a sudden, I found another way to, create money and, you know, help the community around us because we're in a business together. But B, within all of that, I learned that if I want to be successful in life and pass that on to my children, which is all I want to do, I have to change. I have to become a bigger person. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that through, oh my goodness, I have to love myself. I love myself. I'm gorgeous. You know, I'm walking around going, man, I'm gorgeous. I look good and blah, blah, blah. But if you peeled away, you know, a couple of the layers on the outside of, yeah, I'm fabulous. And I wasn't that vain. I'm not like that at all. But it was like, there's some shit that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to forgive yourself for, that you're going to have to forgive others for, to break down those walls and get on to the other side of greatness. And not greatness like standing on a mountain and yes, I conquered it all. Not like that at all. Just open my heart to the love that I want to give to the world and that the world deserves to receive.
And sometimes you're not going to get anything. I just want to point out, because some people will do this in order to receive either love or acknowledgement or, you know, acknowledgement of hurts, whatever that would be. You want to forgive and you want to be the bigger person, regardless of receiving anything back. That's when you truly are in your greatness and in love and compassion and curiosity and just taking ownership of yourself and doing it for self-love. And I think the greatest gift of that is that you become the bigger person. Like that is the gift. Like you are just fucking yourself over by not wanting to be the bigger person, right? To stay low and below the line with the people that you have perceived to have hurt you. Like, why would you want to give that kind of power away? Especially if you really truly are the victim. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing I'd love you to chat about, Tracy, is I have to read this quote because, and Nima talks about this a lot. You guys know Nima. He was on last week's call. He did a post recently and I reposted it because it's truly powerful, and it has been the lesson that I've really lent into this year to process the things that I've had to process. And that is the highest, and some of you will find it hard to wrap your mind around this, especially if it's significant trauma. But I promise you, there is possibility if you look for it, okay? The highest form of forgiveness is the authentic recognition that everything served you and there is nothing to forgive.
Bam.
Like, how fucking powerful is that? And, you know, when I look at some of the blows of this year, like, oh my God, really? Another thing? Like, I just feel like one thing after the other. Fuck, I trust myself now. Like, yes, I lost trust in someone, but it caused me to trust myself more than ever before. It is changed my entire life's course, and I've never felt more powerful, more connected to myself, more connected to my mission, more love for myself, more inspiration. So is there really anything to forgive? Because maybe the universe designed it this way, because I was asking for more. I wanted to become more. I wanted to serve more. I wanted a greater love for my future, and perhaps Adam and I had come to the end of that road with each other. And I was asking for more things. So whatever has transpired is clearly to serve my future. So really, is there anything to forgive?
Good question. I love that. It's so good. And it's also something that came up while I was having a shower. Yeah, I love that. That is, oh my God, that's so beautiful. We, you know, I did a lot of self-development in my early years, like Tony Robbins. DeMartini was a huge part of my self-development. And he talks a lot about, you know, the yin and yang, the black and the white, the good and the bad. You cannot have light without dark. So you definitely, I feel like we come in as this pure essence and we get loaded with all this darkness, with the intelligence within us to come through it with light again, always. So is it compassion that comes through? Do we need to forgive? I think, yeah, he's totally nailed it on the head. There isn't, and once again, it comes back again to our expectations of what they've done to us. But here's the thing, and I've seen it within you this year, Kira, because I know, and you know, a few of us know of all the trials and tribulations you've had this year. And when it came to you this year and I heard what was going on, part of me was like, and because I've done so much healing in my past, holy shit, that's heavy. I wonder how she's feeling. But then the other part, and you know, and sending you love, and just like in my meditations every night, like love, love, love for you. But at the same time, holy shit, were you destined for greatness? Because the only time I found that any time a challenge comes to me, and I really take it on now, because I know that on the other side of that, the universe has bigger, you know, a bigger opportunity for me. And for me to get that opportunity and experience and pass that on to my community and my children, I have to feel it and I have to go through it. Yeah. So that's where I love to be. Every time a challenge comes, it's like, this sucks, not again, but
yeah, thanks universe. So, and that's part of it, right? Like one of my coaches always says that you know, I'm asking for this. I want to serve women. Well, I need to know what it feels like to be an independent woman, and all of these challenges that have occurred. Like some of the messages I've got this year, like the community has kind of, it's just really attracted, it's a different space now. And I think I have so much more. I've always been an extremely compassionate person, but now I can have compassion because I've been through so much of what these women have been through.
Yeah. And you know what? And to my life to this day, on the table and to friends that I connect with, I'm always giving advice. Isn't it funny though? You give so much advice that you've never really taken on yourself until now, you know?
I'm getting better at that, but yeah.
So perfect. But you know, they'll be like, and I always ask permission, can I share with you, you know, what I've learned? Maybe that'll help. I always ask for permission, can I share? Yeah. And when I share something that might help them, they're like, oh my God, you are so wise. And I'm just like, actually, no, I'm not. I've been through it. Yeah. And I think you see a lot of people who are super successful and doing really well, maybe, I don't know, in business, maybe in spirituality or whatever it is for them. You have to know that they've gone through a lot of pain to get to where they are, and they are teaching you the same. And I know that in your mission statement, Kira, you shared about, you know, in the pains, the trials and the tribulations that you receive are what you want to gift to the world. And that's exactly what you're doing. And what I'm loving, that is what you've asked for. I want to be great. I want to help women. I want to empower them. And the universe was, okay, cool. Well, here's a bunch of stuff that you're going to have to learn and get through and feel for you to share that with them authentically, because you're able to share it from the heart because you've learned it.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. I love when the universe dumps something on my door. I'm like, oh, I thought I'd forgotten about that one. Okay.
I'm like, I've had enough this year. I'm like, I'm very comfortable how things are right now. Okay, not another. Do you know
You don't
what?
want to say that either.
Seriously, like 2 weeks ago, there was another curveball that hit me, and I'm at the point now where it's like a year ago, I probably would have spent a week crying, but I'm just like, oh, who fucking cares? Like, that's small fry compared to like, I'm like, not surprised. So we'll just add it to the list.
Yeah. Power to you, girlfriend, because so much greatness is coming out of it. And I know that feeling, right? And that's kind of where I am now in my life. And I'm definitely not an expert. I'm not wise. I'm not, an oracle or anything. But stuff does get dumped. And I honestly, I unpack it now and go, okay, I might have to, though, in that moment, depends on how big it is, sometimes forget about what's going on in the world. Like the last few weeks, I've actually let some stuff slip, but it's because this really needs to be dealt with. And so it's like, okay, I really need to deal with you because you're not going away until I do. Yeah. And then there's other things that come and it's just like, cool, swept away, because I've practiced the art of, I don't know if we call it forgiveness anymore, but I practice the art of just honestly staying in my own lane and just keep going. Like, heal what needs to be healed, but without getting so emotional and attached to it as such. Because when you are in, a lot of the stuff that we need to forgive is something from the past, maybe, right? And when you're in the past, you are not in the present. And that's where your greatness is, in this presence. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that you recognize something and you can move through it fast. So what I've noticed
is gone, right? It's fucking gone. Why are you reliving it every single day by carrying it with you? Like, it doesn't even exist anymore.
No. How you deal with it and how you move through it gracefully is what really, really counts.
Yeah.
And so
something that you just said is, there's times where you just need to take time and you've let things slip because you're dealing with this. I was having this discussion with another dear friend who is a huge leader in a community of women, has a lot of probably expectation, right? Because when you are a leader, there's a lot of people looking up to you, expecting and personalizing things when you don't show up a certain way. It's one of the greatest challenges. And I mean, she's going through significant challenges very quietly and gracefully. And I think, again, this goes back to expectations, is it's so easy to make an assumption of a friend or a partner or a family member not showing up for you the way that you expect and feeling like you're being let down. And it comes back to that curiosity. And this is what I said to her. Well, if somebody, once they find out, first of all, if they're not curious enough to even ask what's going on for you because you have withdrawn, right, because you've needed to. But secondly, if there's still an expectation on you to show up in a certain way, knowing what you're going through, they actually just don't deserve any space in your thought, in your life. Like, they just, no. Like, you don't take that personally, right? Because that's that person's shit.
Yeah. I actually had this happen last week. A person who I thought was my friend, well, anyway, I'm still working through this, right? Because he's going through stuff as well. But he knew of the stuff that I was going through. I had to tell him because I work quite closely with him. And he just said to me out of the blue, and it totally blew me. It's still like, I haven't processed it properly yet. But he was like, look, I know you're going through stuff, but I don't want to hear about it. And I was just like, I don't dump everything on you. I always miniaturize things, especially in a business setting. I don't pour my heart out to you. I do that with my partner. I do that with the people closest to me.
Yeah, you got to know who you do that with.
Yeah, exactly. But I had to tell you XYZ because I'm not going to show up in these spaces 100%. I need to give this energy right now. Mm-hmm. And when he said that to me, I was exactly like, Kira, I came back and I was like, you know what? At that moment, I realized where he was on the scale of friends in my life or wherever he was. And not that I'm never going to give him the time or anything that he asks of me, never, because, I need to let that go, because if he comes to me with this, because he had the same kind of stuff going on a few months ago, which totally blew me away. And so I opened my space up to let him heal within me, or That sounded a bit odd.
We know what you mean.
I'm so not like that. Anyway, you know what I mean? So I'll always open that space again because I know it will come again. But it really did make me realize, going back to what you were talking about, who really does care about what's going on for me? And so who do I share that with?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just wanted to touch on that. But,
well, I know you wanted to kind of full circle it back to self-love and maybe
really, I think that's at the end of the day when I came into the space of, and I was going to share some dirty secrets today, but I don't think I am. I think it just hasn't happened, and I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, when I came into the space of I want to be greater, I want to be on my deathbed, not right now, but there comes a time when I'm going to leave this planet, and I want to make sure that I leave my babies and my family with something to remember beautifully of me, not just mum with the squeaky voice who was always happy all the time, and so for me to do that was at the time when I came to this epiphany, I've got to get my shit together. I'd just become a single mum. So I was like, holy crap, I'm doing this on my own. I'm in credit card debt up to my eyeballs. I got a tax bill that's humongous. And I had to kind of decipher all this stuff by myself. And it was like, okay, for me to be great and not leave them this, but also, what I really wanted was to just leave a legacy of, Tracy was a cool chick and she helped a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I learned that if I needed to do that, I need to love myself. And so I went to it, and I listened to a shitload of Tony Robbins. I did DeMartini's Breakthrough, Imperience, and he did another one. I can't remember. I did a lot of self-development work on that. I read loads of self-help books. The Power of Now was the very first one. Soliciting Prophecy was my second one, I think it was. And the third one was The Peaceful Warrior. And from that, everything just flowed. It all just links back to loving yourself. But also, what I found within loving yourself was you had to forgive so much of your past. And
I think forgiveness of self is probably much more challenging, actually, than forgiveness of others. And yeah, that's a whole nother topic in itself, really. I just opened a really big can of worms. Might not have time to go into that one.
On our 3-hour special of self-love. Get ready to dive deep. But for me, it was forgiveness. I had to forgive all the shitty things I do. So, okay, I'll touch a little bit because we've got a little bit of time. I'll touch a little bit on the things that I had to forgive myself. The first thing that really came to mind that had been coming up through my life my whole, maybe 20 years, and it just kept coming full circle. I was like, I'll deal with that later. I'll probably deal with it on my deathbed, right? And it was like, when I had my children really young, I had Madison when I was 18. I look at 18-year-olds and think, oh my God, what was I thinking? I wasn't even conscious. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew how to have sex, but I totally forgot about what the consequences of, and so I had this baby child that no way did I mother her the way that I mother Ruby now, because I became a more conscious human being when I had Ruby. I was in my 30s. So way more conscious, way more knowledgeable, way more wise, I guess you could say, in life. Mm-hmm. So I had to forgive how I parented Madison, because when she was between the age of birth and 8, pretty much as soon as she came out of the womb, for those of you who don't know me very well, I used to be a bit of a druggie. I used to love weed. Weed was my drug of choice. I smoked it all day long. I smoked it around her. I was one of those unconscious women with a baby smoking weed. And so I had to forgive that. But then what came after that, was like, what about the time you actually, when she was 8 years old, I actually adopted her out because I couldn't handle being a mum. Why couldn't I handle being a mum? I was young. And I was smoking too much weed. Now, these are things I've come to know now. But, at the time when I had to own my shit and own that was unforgivable, for me, it was unforgivable. well, for me, some other people might be okay with that, but for me, it hurt. And so I had to learn to forgive that I did that. And I gave her up, I gave her up because I chose weed and partying over my children. And then to make it even worse was when Ruby was 2 years old, I had another little baby. This is what's going to get me, because it's still something that I really am working on the forgiveness for. Madison was 2. I was still partying. I was pregnant again. Holy shit, I'm still a single mum. I'm living on welfare. What the fuck are you doing, Trace? And so I had this little girl, knowing true and well that I could not raise another child in my state. So I adopted her as well. I adopted her to my family when she was born. And we just have had this relationship that I wouldn't even call one right now, because she's going through stuff of, she's pissed off at me and I'm still trying to forgive me for what I did. So I had to own all of that about maybe 10 years ago when I learned that, there's some stuff. But what I did with that particular one was I swept that under the carpet every time because I didn't see it, because I couldn't see her. I could see her. Like I could jump on a plane right now and go see her any time of the day while she was growing up. I could have jumped in the car, could have gone and seen her. My family never stopped me from seeing her, but it was easier for me to just take it under the carpet. It's too painful because I chose shitty drugs over my children. Mm-hmm. And coming into the life that I wanted, I wanted to give to my family all this stuff. I kind of felt like a fraud because I was like, so you want all of this? You had a chance to do that and you kind of did that. So there was this whole, and this is the process we're talking about with you, Kira. The process was I hated myself for doing that. It was like, how can you be such a bitch? Then you question, who you are and la, 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 all to this day. And then I came through it. Because I wrote a letter to myself. Ended up writing a letter to myself and said to my 20-year-old self, that you had no idea who you were back then. Mm-hmm. Had you have known who you are now, you would have made different choices, but you're a completely different person. Mm-hmm. So I had to forgive my 20-year-old self. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And it was so that was the one thing that let's say the hate of myself was this much. It went down to that much just from the letter. And so since then, I've been trying to build this relationship, and I do say try because she's learning to forgive me.
Yeah.
But I'm
she may come to it because there might be, there would be. We're all fucked up from our parents, and we're going to fuck up our own kids.
Yes.
Right, cycle of life.
Sorry, Mum and Dad.
It's the gift of life. No, it's the gift of life, right? Because that's where our greatness comes from, and if we're willing to see the gifts. And so someone might be listening to this where they were on the receiving end of something similar.
Totally.
But hopefully through hearing your story, they can see your humanness and they can start to apply curiosity because, you were just on some levels reenacting trauma and patterns and lessons that were really just ingrained in you from your heritage, your parents, all of that, we're all doing our best. For the most part, I have to believe that human nature is that in the moment we're doing our best.
Totally.
And I have no doubt that your daughters have received some incredible gifts for who they will become because of that sacrifice. And that was a huge gift in one of my personal development things with Nima actually, is just realizing the gift that came from some past wounds. And I wouldn't change a thing. I would not change a thing. When you see the gifts, you wouldn't change it. There's actually a woman that's just reached out on Facebook. I won't read it here. I'll let you just go and read that and maybe reach out to her. But she's going through a challenge similar to what you just shared.
That's cool. It's funny because I toyed sharing that today because I really wanted something that was relatable to people. But then I was like, how many people give up 2 children and, you know, have my life? But I'm sure in any instance we can relate a part of it to your life. Or not.
And I just encourage well, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable, because I totally understand as a mother it's especially hard to share that kind of stuff. And I think that is your power to make an impact, is through sharing your story. But secondly, if anyone is on their pedestal judging right now, we've all done shit things.
Oh, man.
And no sin is greater than another, really. I mean, it's all shit at the end of the day. So I encourage you to take a big mirror and look at yourself when you find yourself judging another human being, because you don't know Tracy's past. You don't know her upbringing. You don't really know anything about her other than what she's shared today, and shared with courage in a way that most people wouldn't even have. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, babe. And, you know, that's a huge part of it as well. For me to forgive people, and I forgive people every day, you know, is because somewhere in my life I've done the same thing. So often, you know, Matt and I will be like, holy crap, did you hear so-and-so did this, and he'll be like, have you ever done that before? And I'm like, shit, yeah, totally.
Usually the things we hate in someone else is what we won't acknowledge we hate about ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm so quick now to just see it, recognize it in me, and be like, it's cool, man, I know where you're at. Or I don't know where you're at, but I know that you made that decision, A, for maybe a lesson, or maybe because you wanted to feel pleasure. But, you know, am I going to take that on? No way, because of me giving you that is giving you power. I need to move forward, and for me to move to where I want to be, I have to keep going.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. And you know, it's hard. It's fucking hard.
Well, someone said to me the other day, someone messaged me, and they're going through a separation, becoming an independent mum, which, you know, for a lot of women is a very scary place to be in, particularly if you don't have financial independence. And she said something around, how do you keep going? How do you get up every day? And I mean, I'm through it. Life's amazing for me now, but how did I keep moving forward? And the answer is, you let those things add to your personal power. Don't choose to be the victim. Choose to win, because I'm choosing to win from this life circumstance. I'm stronger. I'm more independent. I'm happier. I feel freer. Like, choose to see the gifts that are going to come. The growth is the thing that you would never give back for the world. The growth opportunity that you have in the face of challenge will be your greatest gift. And that is why it's happening to you, because it serves you to grow. So Tracy, to wrap things up, we're coming to the end of 2019.
Ooh, new decade.
Yeah, just like, I would have thought it would have gone slow with the amount of challenge, but it's actually really flown by. And I'm really excited about 2020, because I feel like it's been 12 months now and my life has just gone full circle, and I feel in such a good place. I'm excited about next year. I just see possibility. And happiness and more freedom, and I'm excited. So, I mean, I spent the last year really just dealing and cleaning up with the baggage. Yeah. I feel free. The weight is off. I've let go.
Can I say, you have to, if anyone's going through some shit right now, it's never too late. You really don't want to take this into the next year.
And that's what I was going to say. So what would be your parting words? Because we're coming to the end of the year. 2020, freaking crazy even saying that, is about to begin, and you literally have the decision right now, and this might be the wake-up call that you've been waiting for, the sign, whatever you want to call it, is that you've been carrying shit with you potentially for years, whether it be your parents, your siblings, your ex-partners, someone you didn't even know that cut you off in traffic, right? Isn't it amazing how we actually give so much power away and waste time on bullshit like that, though? Like,
used to, darling, used
to.
Yeah,
now it's very rare for me to cut sick of that stuff. Yeah. Now I'm just like, life's too short. But what would your parting words be for someone to really just decide that enough is enough and life is too short, and all there really is love, and that's what's going to move you forward.
Absolutely. And yeah, all I'd say is, and I did want to finish with that, 2020 is coming. And so for me, and hopefully you, we don't want to take what's gone on in the past into the next decade. So for me, in the next month, I'm totally writing down all of the stuff that I haven't yet worked on, and I'm putting it in there because it needs to be done, so that when I come into 2020, I feel like I'm not going to have a clean slate because I got a big list, but I'm going to be ready for it. I'm totally going to be ready, and you be ready for it too. And so what I do is I've mapped out what I want for my future and for my children's future. And you will notice that when you do this, Kira does a mission statement. I've got a mission statement. Please go watch Kira's mission statement YouTube thingy. Is that an Empowered? Because it's beautiful. Since I've had that mission statement and I've got my mission board, I have found that because you've told the universe what you want, but you don't just get that, by the way. You have to work towards it. But what I've found is opportunities are knocking on the door that are helping me get to where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And 2020 is such a pivotal moment for you to change your life. And so I would be really like, watching the mission statement that Kira has shared once before, getting your mission board sorted, mapping out what you want for you and your family, letting shit go, staying in line. I've always got this vision of me just like, I know where I'm going and all the stuff is going on outside of me, but I don't have time. Like Kira said before, don't have time for the pet, just don't have time. Unless sometimes, like last week, something got dumped. It was like, okay. But other things, nah. Let's go. Let's move forward. We are in the age where women have such a beautiful message and a voice, and I feel like it can heal the world. I can get all friggin' spiritual and la-di-da here right now, but we really do. We have the power to heal ourselves and help women do the same. And I think coming into 2020, it's a beautiful opportunity to do that. So find within yourself the love that you have, peel back those layers and find that inner essence.
And for the mothers, can I just add there, if you don't have the love for yourself, please keep working on that. But often women will do the work for someone else. They'll do it for their kids. And when you heal your own trauma, you heal generations. And that was the driving force when I first begun my personal development journey, is because I didn't want to fuck my kids up.
Yeah.
Like I could just see myself imprinting them in a way that I did not feel aligned with. And that caused me to do the inner work.
Yeah. And can I just share quickly, if you are a mother-to-be, it's really good to do this work because you clear the DNA that passes through. Because even though I've done a lot of healing on me, it's in the DNA of my children. And so there's still a lot of healing for that to be done as well. But I'm a massive believer in what we birth, they are going to take that DNA on and they're going to bring that to the world as well. So if we can help heal that on a DNA level, make super babies.
Let's end it on that. Let's all go make super babies.
No, we're done. We are done. Is everyone else out there?
I'm definitely done. Oh, you're so amazing. Thank you so much for just being very real and raw with this community, because I think it is easy, especially the space that we're in, to be put on a pedestal and we're not dealing with our own stuff. And you're making the choice to work on it and to stop pushing it under the rug. And it's honestly, everyone, what I can say is the more flexible you are, the more you learn to let go.
Yeah.
You can breathe. The more enjoyable life is, the more love that flows, the deeper connections that you have. Life is just so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thank
Love you, girl.
Look forward to having you back. Have an amazing day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.